Okay, cool. Steven, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it.
You bet. So before we get into your prowess of being a branding and marketing expert, I want to know 5 years ago, this pandemic rocked everything, changed so many things. How did you survive the pandemic of 2020, and how did it influence the way that you live your life in 2025?
Oh, that's a great question. The pandemic was sort of like somebody taking out a chunk of the freeway and you had to stop
Yeah.
because you're just going this way. You always did it. I have an office studio that has a loft, and I had about 8 people here working for me in the office. It's not far from my house, a couple miles. I own the property, everything. Suddenly, I'm working from home with a teenage kid there who is annoying me, of course, and just like dealing with some clients, start dealing with clients online, which, barely had used Zoom before, suddenly totally converted to that. And dealing with this world of, how are we going to continue to generate money and work with clients? We had a couple of good projects going at the time. One with a technology company that had a product to launch no matter what. But it gave me pause, like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then out of that, uh, with some of that SBA money and whatever they threw at businesses that we got some of that. My business partner retired mostly. And I said, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to reposition what I'm doing, look for some new team members, and figure out how to grow where. And so to me, when I have things like this happen, I go through, oh crap, it's all changed. And then you go, well, where's the opportunity? How can I shift this? And for me, it was like I saw that I could have more remote people working for me. Uh, I have somebody in Argentina and India work for me now who run my CRM system and database and digital marketing. I would never even thought of reaching out to them before.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me, for new business, I had a new business guy who was connecting with people remotely and in person, which really changed how I started engaging with people. And then Zoom became normal. And now in my own office, I'm at my office. I sublease about half the space to some other people I know.
Yeah.
And my team is even some of the team that's local, they work from home mostly, and we meet in my office occasionally. So that's how things evolved. And yeah, that's just sort of a quick run through.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. And one of the kids in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
Oh gosh. I would say I'm a marketing and creative guy. And they'll say, oh, that's so cool. And I'll say, like you have to think about why you're wanting to do this and what intrigues you about it. And so for me, what keeps me in this is I I'm fascinated by behavior,
Yeah.
personas, individuals, different lifestyles, different backgrounds, what they choose, what's common between people. Um, and if you understand that in marketing, AI isn't going to take your job because you actually have more tools available to understand how people are, and they're always changing too,
Yeah.
people. So I would say, uh, if you want to go into marketing, don't try to do everything everyone else is doing. Do something unique. Find a different place to be. Offer something valuable to product brands or customers that no one else is doing.
So when you were 12 years old and you were sitting in that room, what did you want to be? What was your dream job?
Oh my God, it wasn't anything like this. It was actually thought I might go to the Naval Academy because I had Navy people in my family.
Okay.
And then I just didn't take that road at all. And then I thought I'd get into architecture, and I got a degree in city planning, of all things. Found out to be the most boring career ever working with cities. And then it's just rules.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up working for developers who want to get around the rules, and I understand them. So, and that anyway, so that's how I evolved into what I'm doing now. And So,
Well, well, take me back to your childhood. What were some of the foundational elements that were planted into you that have grown into you being a marketing guru, being an entrepreneur? How did
huh,
that happen?
you asked some great questions, Joe.
Thank you.
So like I grew up in an Irish Catholic family. My dad worked at the shipyard, and with these large families, I could see how everyone on my dad's side or my mom's side liked or disliked each other, but never showed it in a public way. Somehow that affected my ability to be persuasive and marketing to individuals in my own family. And I also really saw I didn't want to do a job that was just a repetitive show up at everything. I wanted to do something completely different. I still want it. I'm still doing that.
So, give me kind of an idea of who that inspirational force has been for you. We all have these people that allow us to grow into our role and find our place. Like you started wanting to get into the Navy, now you're an entrepreneur. Who is that person that kind of helped you evolve into who you are?
There's kind of two people. My maternal grandfather, who was a retired Navy chief, and I spent a summer with him and my grandmother in a mobile home park in El Cajon, California. And I was 12 and a half, and he basically knew I was interested in making things and doing things and reading. And so he would, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to buy? Here, go do this. He'd push me. He would yell at me too. But he would push me to experiment. And I, I was kind of not that way when I was 12. I was more shy. And it just got me to realize that you can do anything. You can try anything. You can move forward. You have to take risks. And that kind of stimulation was really good for me. Then I had a high school counselor in Catholic school who brought me into his office one day and said, "Why haven't you applied for these scholarships at college?" And I said, "Well, I didn't think of it." He said, "Are you going to just go work at Safeway when you get out of here and do nothing? Are you going to waste your?" He just castigated me. I turned beet red. I filled out those applications right then. You need somebody to
Yeah.
push you and intimidate you a little bit to say you're better than what you think you are.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite marketing campaign or brand that has been marketed to the public? One that you look up to, maybe when you were a kid or otherwise?
To this day, I think Trader Joe's is the most clever, creative store concept and marketing. Unlike all the other grocery store chains, we've done retail work. They don't collect and market to the demographic data when you leave the store. They use their internal team to see what people like. They get feedback from them. They up and change things. They create a whole different world, and I have never seen more loyal customers ever. I'm fascinated by them.
Yeah.
They have the highest per square foot sales of any retail grocer in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. And they just, when they run out of stuff, people think it's their fault.
Yeah.
You're in the store, oh gosh, I didn't get in here in time.
Yeah.
And I to create that kind of culture in a store and for customers to desire your product so much, that blows my mind.
Yeah. That is amazing. So, the one thing about being an entrepreneur is that there's risks involved. What's the biggest risk that you've taken on your career timeline?
Oh my God. Hiring a bunch of people with a huge project coming in that didn't turn out. And then you suddenly have this payroll and you have to either repurpose those people, lay some people off, figure out what to do because it's about cash flow and making sure that cash flow is there and not living in hope, which I would tend to do if I didn't see reality. So, that's the biggest thing is hiring too quick, thinking you're too great, and not really knowing exactly how it's going to happen next.
So, what's been your philosophy between taking care of your family, your soul, and doing the best job that you can as an entrepreneur? What is that philosophy every day that you wake up to?
It's great. No matter what's happening, adjust to it and create more. Just I've raised three kids, and like things have gone up and down. I've been divorced a couple of times. I'm always an optimist that no matter how anything shows up, uh, that's the deck dealt with, and you have been dealt with, and then you have to sort out how you can make that work for you.
Yeah.
And that to me is the best philosophy to have. It's just be constantly looking at everything as an opportunity.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, don't ever really quit. You know, you can change, you can morph, you can do everything, but don't quit. Don't give up on yourself and in the world you're in. So
Yeah. Let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. That version of you ready to go out into the world, charge out there, get it figured out. And you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart on that version of you?
how old again? I missed that part.
18 years old.
18. Oh gosh. I have somebody that age in my a son close to that,
Yeah.
that you have to really get used to having things not go your way, failing. Like your idea can be great. You can try this, you can make a mistake, you can keep going. That is just learning how to exercise a muscle that gives you more robust ability to make more choices. You know, be willing to go for what you love, see what's working and not working, and just keep adjusting. And if you need to complain and whine about it, sometimes do that. But don't give up that opportunity, that energy to go for what you want.
So if you were to walk into a room of everybody that's known you as a boss or a colleague or in a business sense, and you could tell that room one fun story in front of a podium, the first concert you went to, jumping out of an airplane, just some kind of cool place you've traveled to, just a fun story that would humanize you a little bit. What story would you tell that room of people?
Jeez, that's I'm just trying to go through all the sort of strange different things that have happened to me. Um, uh, Gosh, why am I freezing here? Uh, Something that would humanize me a little bit. Well, I have to say, when I was in Indonesia and Bali, in this really remote area, um, and I had lost or actually forgotten my passport in my little pouch, and I had no resources. I had to figure out how to get back to that place.
Wow.
And after the panic ensued, I just started talking to people, and I was on the back of a motorcycle in the middle of a jungle going through this other place to get back to where I was, and it was still there. And it was truly navigating a world I was completely unfamiliar with.
It's almost like you were in Mission Impossible. I think about an action movie.
Not quite bullets flying. No, no,
Right,
no.
but still, that whole thing where it's like you're on an adventure and you're in a foreign land and that whole
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, yeah. So, of everything that you've done in your life, everything that you've overcome, evolved to, and achieved, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
my kids.
Yeah,
My kids are awesome. I never, when I had kids, it was like, particularly my first child, you're like proud to see a new baby come in the world. And you're like, oh my, your life is over as a guy. You can't do anything but be around it. Then you start realizing there's a human being that knows you. And then that human being grows up. And I have to say, my kids are some of my best friends.
yeah,
And I enjoy being with them, and they call me, and I just see them as awesome people.
yeah,
They're just amazing people. And when people say, well, how come you had three kids or four kids? I'm like, you're creating beings to contribute to the world even better than you. That's the whole point of it.
yeah,
We're just making these great contributors to everything.
yeah.
So,
I dig it. So let me ask you this. Of all the entrepreneurs that are on the planet right now, who do you admire the most, or who would you like to meet and hang out with that might help you on your journey?
oh gosh, the guy, I can't remember his name now, who founded Palantir, which is this data analytics company. I
Yeah,
saw I saw him speak. He is one of the most interesting, bizarre, fascinating. Grew up in a Marxist family, studied Marxism, then learned German, then became a capitalist, and then became a data analytics guy. And he does martial arts, and he's just completely outside the realm of any conventional business person. I find him fascinating, fascinating, and I people like that. I just want to see what makes them work. You know?
It's so interesting you mentioned that because I'm a sports fan, and I heard this interview with Joe Madden, I believe is his name. He was the manager of the
Oh yeah,
2016 Cubs. He is crazy fascinating. Like the way he rolls, what he does, just like this, like all of these interesting pieces that make up who they are, you would never imagine. But he just seems like he would be fascinating to sit down and pick it apart,
yeah,
figure out how did you get here? How has this happened?
yes. No, no. I know who Joe Madden is. That would be really interesting.
Just a total trip. So at the end of the day, Stephen, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, employees, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, that's good. I have learned to be, I think, an empathetic boss and listener. And I want to get all the input I have, including people saying things they don't like what I'm saying them to. But I make the decision. That's the way it works. I'm not this isn't a democracy because I take all the risk.
Yeah.
I even told my kids that, look, I understand all this, but the buck stops with me. So that's why I'm doing this. And you can give me your feedback afterwards. Okay. But you have to be receptive to being in charge. I mean, charge means being both criticized and supported,
Yeah,
and I think that's really important for leadership.
for sure. So let me ask you this. Of all of the places that you've traveled to on the planet, what was one of the most unexpectedly magical, beautiful, wonderful places that you didn't expect was going to be like that?
Oh my God. This tiny town in Mexico on the Pacific coast, about 2 hours north of Puerto Vallarta. It's called Sayulita. It's in a little cove. It's kind of a surfing town with fishermen, and you could walk the whole town in 20 minutes. You don't even need a car. I never knew how magical that little place was.
Yeah,
It was just great. I've
yeah,
gone back several times and I've met people who are expats who live there. And they said, why aren't you coming back more often? I never knew it even existed.
yeah. That's cool, man. How cool. Hey, if anyone wants to reach out, they want to learn more, hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
They can go to RadiantBrands.com and reach out to contact us or send an email to Stephen D at RadiantBrands.com. And when they look at our website, you can look at all the writing that goes on there in my blog. I write all that stuff
Yeah.
because it's all my crazy thinking. So anyway, thank you so much, Joe.
Dude, what a cool cat.
Looking to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.